I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time.
And today, we're here to announce the arrest of 3 more MS-13 gang members who were in this country illegally, and they were in Florida.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
We want the biggest, most badass military on the planet, on God's green earth.
The president's been clear that he has tremendous respect for Justice Roberts and believes it's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical, rogue judges.
28 great divisions will become 15. The entire federal workforce is downsizing now, so this will be a painful period for HHS as we downsize from 82,000 full-time employees to around 62,000.
In just 100 days, U.S. President Donald Trump has flipped Washington upside down, rewriting trade policy, reshaping federal agencies, torching global alliances, and launching a government-wide purge led by DOGE chief Elon Musk. From billion-dollar tariffs and deportation flights to El Salvador, to defunding elite universities and declaring war on entire federal agencies, signaling a shift from traditional political approaches. Here's the breakdown of the most chaotic, consequential, and combative first 100 days in U.S. presidential history.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
President Trump unveiled reciprocal tariffs, dubbing it Liberation Day for America. His reciprocal tariffs aim to revive U.S. industry. However, it led to markets tanking and recession fears grew amid investor doubt. Executive orders allowed Trump to bypass the Republican-controlled Congress and reshape trade policy with steep tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico.
Fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. If you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers.
Elon Musk was tasked with dismantling government waste, but the cuts came fast, messy, and left chaos in their wake. Musk's approach was to break agencies first and clean up later, firing thousands and gutting whole departments. Musk reportedly accessed sensitive data, slashed budgets, and misrepresented savings, leaving long-term damage uncertain. Even conservatives were stunned by the pace of the cuts, which fell far short of Musk's trillion-dollar savings claim. Though Musk remains praised by Trump, his role is shrinking and his reforms have begun to face backlash.
Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do with, there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it, but he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people, and we're trying to shrink government.
Trump used century-old laws to deport migrants without review, including sending hundreds to prison in El Salvador. Ignoring court orders, he refused to return Maryland resident Kilmar Abrego Garcia after he was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Illegal border crossings reportedly fell sharply as Trump expanded military deportations and transformed asylum systems. As per reports, illegal crossings have come down to 7,000 a month from 300,000 a month since Trump entered the White House. His Gold Card plan offers U.S. residency to foreigners who invest $5 million, stirring ethical and legal concerns. He labeled MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangs as foreign terrorists and suspended rights for migrants, transforming immigration enforcement.
Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded.
Trump defied court rulings while claiming to respect the judiciary, triggering fears of a legal crisis. Over 150 lawsuits challenge his orders, with judges frequently blocking key parts of his agenda. He called for impeaching a judge who ruled against him, the case of Venezuelan immigrants accused of being gang members. This prompted a rare rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts, who did not mention the president by name, but said impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreements over court decisions.
Of course the president stands by his comments, absolutely, as do we all, as does the entire administration. You cannot have a democracy where single individual district court judges can assume the full total powers of the commander-in-chief. Even on the Supreme Court, it takes agreement of 5 Supreme Court justices to change a federal policy. 5. A single district court judge out of 700 cannot set policy for the entire nation, let alone on national security and public safety issues. The president's been clear that he has tremendous respect for Justice Roberts and believes it's essential the Supreme Court crack down and stop this assault on our democracy from these radical, rogue judges that are usurping the powers of the presidency and laying waste to our entire constitutional system.
Trump rejected post-World War II alliances, unnerving allies like France, Germany, and Canada. He criticized NATO, pulled out of global agreements, and proposed annexing Greenland, Panama Canal, and Canada. Secretary Rubio slashed State Department staff, labeling many as radical ideologues undermining U.S. policy. Trump pulled funding from WHO, the Paris Climate Pact, and the International Criminal Court. Moreover, USAID was gutted, ending many global health and humanitarian programs once key to U.S. soft power. Trump has been pushing for a Ukraine-Russia ceasefire, repeatedly warning both sides, though no peace deal has been reached yet.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering
position
on
to
this question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're
you-
gambling with World War III.
what you
You're
thinking
gambling
about?
with
What are you
World
thinking
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Trump vowed to pursue peace in the Middle East and globally. He claimed credit for a truce earlier this year, but Israel's renewed assaults on Gaza, which he had once promised to end, have reignited tensions. The future governance of Gaza remains uncertain, with Trump suggesting a U.S. takeover, while Arab nations propose an alternative plan backed by the UK and others.
So I think that they both want peace right now. They're ready to do something. We'll see what happens. Complicated, very complicated, but I think they are both very much looking to make a deal. Marco, what would you say?
Well, first of all, what was put before our partners was options to discuss about things that it would take to end a war. This war is endable. Both sides just have to agree to it. We've shown them a pathway forward. We've discussed those ideas. It was a good meeting yesterday. There'll be good meetings over the weekend. We've shown them the finish line. We need both of them to say yes. But what happened last night with those missile strikes should remind everybody of why this war needs to end. It's horrible those missiles landed. What's even worse is there are today people that were alive yesterday that are not alive today because this war continues. And the president wants to stop it. And everyone should be thanking the president for being a peacemaker and trying to save lives. That's what we're trying to do here. It's not our war. We didn't start it, as you know. But we're trying to end the dying. We're trying to end the destruction. And we've shown the path forward. We can see the finish line, but both of them have to get there. We're going to do everything we can to help them get there, but they have to ultimately say yes.
And we are using a lot of pressure on both. You know, if you think we're just in there because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure on both.
Trump purged top Pentagon leadership, including generals and lawyers, to reshape the military hierarchy. Defense Chief Pete Hegseth leaked sensitive info via Signal and fired top staff in internal purges. Trump ended diversity programs and ordered the removal of transgender troops, though courts put that on hold.
Ever since I've taken this position, the only thing I care about is doing right by the warfighters, by the troops. In short, we want the biggest, most badass military on the planet, on God's green earth. The first is DOGE. They're here and we're welcoming them. In fact, right over there, about 20 minutes ago, I just met with them. And we're going to be incorporating into what we're doing at DOD, everything they're doing to find fraud, waste, and abuse, in the largest discretionary budget in the federal government. They're going to have broad access. We are refocusing, that's a key word, our existing budget away from the Biden priorities that, frankly, were all over the map to President Trump's priorities of building a lethal fighting force. The media wants to call these exclusively cuts, but it's the opposite, of course, as always is the case.
Public health agencies lost 10,000 jobs and billions in research funds as United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., led a radical overhaul.
Hey, everybody, I'd like to share with you a paradox that I've encountered here in Washington, D.C. as the new Secretary of HHS. Our department is filled for the most part with competent, conscientious public servants, and yet the agency has been inefficient as a whole. Over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%, and its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money has failed to improve the health of Americans. In fact, the rate of chronic disease and cancer increased dramatically as our department has grown. Our lifespan has dropped, so Americans now live 6 years shorter than Europeans. We are the sickest nation in the world, and we have the highest rate of chronic disease. The U.S. ranks last among 40 developed nations in terms of health, but we spend 2 to 3 times more per capita than those nations. As Secretary, I now understand why all this money is not improving our health. HHS is a sprawling bureaucracy that encompasses literally hundreds of departments, committees, and other offices. You know how bureaucracies work. Every time a new issue arises, they tack on another committee. This leads to tremendous waste and duplication, and worst of all, a loss of any unified sense of mission. The resulting pandemonium has injured American health and damaged department morale. When I arrived, I found that over half of our employees don't even come to work. HHS has more than 100 communications offices and more than 40 IT departments and dozens of procurement offices and 9 HR departments. In many cases, they don't even talk to each other. They're mainly operating in silos. Sometimes these sub-agencies work at cross purposes with each other. Some of these little fiefdoms, for example, are so insulated and territorial that they actually hoard our patient medical data and sell it for profit to each other. Instead of remedying the chronic disease crisis, perverse incentives have administrators checking boxes and grading their own homework while public health declines. A few isolated divisions are neglecting public health altogether and seem only accountable to the industries that they're supposed to be regulating. In one case, defiant bureaucrats impeded the Secretary's office from accessing the closely guarded databases that might reveal the dangers of certain drugs and medical interventions. I have some good news, though. As part of President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS to make our agency more efficient and more effective. We're going to imbue the agency with a clear sense of mission to radically improve the health of Americans and to improve agency morale. We're going to eliminate an entire alphabet soup of departments and agencies while preserving their core functions by merging them into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, or AHA. We have two goals. The first is obvious: to save the taxpayer money by making our department more efficient.
Earlier this year, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, banned Red Number. 3 die over cancer fears as U.S. law mandates banning known carcinogens. He launched a campaign against harmful chemicals used in food without public knowledge. Moreover, the National Institutes of Health is reportedly collecting private medical records for a new autism research initiative led by RFK Jr. Kennedy called Autism an Epidemic, citing a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report showing a rise in autism diagnoses from 1 in 36 to 1 in 31 children.
Go over some of the key numbers from the ADDM report. Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate. The study tests 8-year-olds who were born in 2014. And by the way, these studies are 2 years later than they should be. And one of the things that we're going to do as we move this function to the Administration for a Healthy America, to the Chronic Disease Division, the new Chronic Disease Division, is we are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time, and not have to wait 2 years to react. We don't wait 2 years to react to a measles epidemic, and we should not, or any kind of infectious disease. We shouldn't have to do that for diabetes or autism.